Learning 800 words a week sounds like a daunting task if you ask me, but it's totally doable if you put your mind to it and you do it the right way. And there are thousands of advantages attached to these. It won't just improve your language learning skills, but it will help you articulate and confident in your speaking. But before we go deeper, let's talk about the reasons we can't learn these words. Why is it that every time you learn a new word, you forget it? Or you just have this fear of this new word coming at you at different angles and directions, and you're not even sure where to start. One situation I just thought about might be situations where you don't even know how to inculcate or bring them into your daily activities, or ways of even retaining the words you've learned. They come and they go. Somebody says them to you, you say, I have seen this word somewhere before, but you can't just make them stick. There is a problem with that. Now I'm going to talk about 5 solid steps for you to follow to learn these beautiful words, and I must say these might be life-changing for you. Step 1, let's talk about the source. Where do you get your new word? Let's nitpick a bit and see where you probably get it from. Are you the person that goes to maybe Language Center? They give you this loads of words and you write them down, or you use apps, whichever way happens, or you're just this self-learning person. You go online, you pick new words, you write them down, you practice them. Whichever way possible, there are a plethora of ways by which you can get new words. If you can afford it, I suggest going to centers to learn new words. If you do not have that time, a good way is to read or to listen to audiobooks in the language you want to learn. Even as an English speaker, sometimes when I listen to audiobooks, I still pick on some words and I write them down for me to check up on later to find their meaning. So audiobooks might be an amazing means of picking up new words. Now that we've talked about the source of learning new languages, now bring everything together. Here comes how to retain these words. And this brings me to my step 2. A student of mine introduced me to flashcards. You probably don't have to use physical flashcards. It's an online flashcard. I might say something like Anki or Quizlet. Quizlet is a good one. Actually, that's the one he made use of, Quizlet. And it was beautiful. The way that after teaching them these words, he would write down the words. Then in 24 hours, he sends us the link to these words on the group page, and other students click on the link and they see the words we had talked about in our previous class. It was amazing to me the way my class was able to retain these words. Some, of course, not everybody would, play around with that, but I was in awe of how quickly they were able to retain, because they didn't just have something written down physically, but they could take their mobile phones and use flashcards to just check the word translated to their native languages. Now that we've talked about flashcards, what can you do with this flashcard? How do you learn on your flashcards? There's this 0, 3, 6, and 24 hours of retaining information. How does this work out? Set a reminder on your phone. Maybe set it for 3 hours, 6 hours, and maybe 24 hours. What happens when these alarms or timers ring out? You check your flashcards. Try to remind yourself. This way, repetitiveness makes your brain retain this information. Do these 3 hours, 6 hours, and after 24 hours. This way, when you repeat these words, it gets to stick. And that's one solid method. Even as a Russian learner, this method has helped me learn these new words, as complicated as they get in Russian. When I repeat these words, although I don't really use flashcards, I write them down. I like to see my books physically. They have worked for me. Write them down, check every 3, 6 hours. Then after 6 hours, the next day where you're learning something new, and it has worked. Consistency, using flashcards and a reminder, it works wonders. So the next step after this one, which should be step 3, is for you to associate these new words with something familiar. For example, when I was learning my Russian language, I remember I had this problem with a word called inspiration. This word inspiration, it's called vdохновлять. Vdохновлять. It was difficult at first, and I kept thinking, how do I say vdохновлять? Then I remember that there is a word in Russian called vhod, which means entrance, exit. Vhod. Although they have different, that one is vhod, my new word is vdokh. But in a way, the fact that any time I want to talk about I am inspired, I remember entrance, it just leads me into using vdохновляет. I have a plethora of words like that I have associated with. Is a funny word. Associate the words that you think are complicated and you might forget with things that are that would make them easy for you to understand. It's a good step and it will help you to retain your new words. Number 4 is to break down these words. 100 words in a week, that's like an average of 20 or 15 words a day. That's a lot. You don't have to start with 15, 20 words a day. Break them down. Start with 2. I started with 5. Now I do around 10 or 15 words a day. So if you feel that's a lot, break it down. Start with 2 words a day. Grow from there, but always make sure you find ways to retain these lessons. Don't just read, oh, this word, then wait till the next day. You see yourself forgetting almost immediately. By the time you open your book, where's this word I learned yesterday? You are done already. And lastly, use words in context. I am a Russian learner living in a Russian-speaking country. Sincerely, that might be an added advantage for me because everybody around me does speak the language. So it's easy for me to use the word, to practice the word. Now, if you're learning a language outside the country by which it's being spoken, this might be a bit difficult. For example, you're learning French in America, or you're learning Russian in America, something like that. This might be a bit complicated because everybody around you speaks the language you are not trying to speak. Now, this takes a lot of intentionality, or let me say extra effort, for you to focus and say, okay, these words I have learned today, I want to use them. If you are in this situation where it's hard for you to use these words in context, make sure you use them. Maybe when you're soliloquizing, when you're speaking to yourself, just try to use them. Experiment. Use the word when you're alone, when you're within your house. Find situations to use this word and put them to good use. Now, something happens that when you learn your 5 words today and you move on to 5 words yesterday, by the time you're done with the week or with the month, you might forget. It happens. You just because you don't use them, you might forget. So what I do personally is that I have a book filled with my new words in a different language. So sometimes I just read. This is not me memorizing. I just take my time to read through the words. And sometimes these flashes of some words that, oh, I think I'm forgetting this word. They keep coming back. They keep coming back. And I'm like, okay, I'm back. Learning a language is beautiful. You just have to be consistent. Make sure you stick to your method. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. If you believe you have a different method that works for learning a language, I would like you to put it down here. But this method is a method that I have tried and it's really efficient. So if you've really enjoyed this video, I would like you to share your thoughts in the comment section. Tell me what you've learned so far. What is the language you're learning? And I would also love to know your view of this method. Have you tried it before? How did it go? And what's your language level like? What language are you learning? I would love to know that. See you there and see you in my next video. I appreciate you for coming. Thank you and goodbye.